Welcome, restless souls, to Carman's Crypt. I'm Carman, keeper of forgotten tales and curator of nightmares. You've wandered into my domain, where each week I unearth a fresh horror from the depths of human imagination. In these darkened halls, stories wait like hungry shadows. Each tale we've collected whispers of terrors both ancient and new. From crumbling mansions where something skitters behind the walls, to that strange text message you received at 3 a.m. from a number that shouldn't exist. So gather close, the candles are lit, the shadows grow long, and the witching hour is upon us. Are you prepared to face what lurks in the darkest recesses of Carman's Crypt? Lock your doors, steel your nerves, and remember, here, every fear comes to life. This is Carman's Crypt. Your sanctuary of scares awaits. Dalton's fingers moved across the controller. Headshot, reload, grenade. The screen flashed blue-white with explosions. The basement smelled like stale pizza and energy drinks. A smell so familiar he'd stopped noticing it months ago. 28 years old, and he'd stopped noticing a lot of things. Empty Monster cans formed a pyramid on the coffee table, chip bags under his bare feet. The carpet was sticky with God knows what. Somewhere behind the couch, something had started to smell. Dalton didn't care. The virtual battlefield demanded attention. Everything else could wait. His phone buzzed on the armrest. Mom calling, again. Dalton glanced at the screen. Third call in 20 minutes, and declined it without pausing the game. She'd leave a voicemail. She always did. He'd listen to it later. Maybe. The phone buzzed again. Voicemail notification. He swiped it away. Upstairs, he heard the front door close. The muffled sound of his father's voice. Car doors, engine starting, then silence. They were gone. The house had a particular silence after they left. Dalton woke the next afternoon to nothing. No coffee maker, no morning news, no footsteps overhead, just silence. He grinned. 2 weeks, 14 days of uninterrupted gaming, no nagging, no disappointed looks. He could order whatever he wanted, stay up as late as he wanted, let the dishes pile up without his mother's increasingly desperate hints. His phone sat on the coffee table, screen dark. 15 missed calls. He didn't check them. The first few days passed in a blur of screens and delivery food. Dalton barely left the basement. Why would he? He had everything. Console, PC, VR headset, 3 monitors, surround sound, a mini fridge from the garage, stocked with energy drinks and cold pizza. His phone kept buzzing. Mom, Dad, Mom, Dad, Mom. Dalton stopped looking at the screen. Just hit decline, over and over. On the second day, he got a text. They were on a cruise. They were supposed to be enjoying their time away from him, not pestering him. Dalton was in the middle of a ranked match. He'd call them after. He didn't call them after. Time became meaningless. Sleep when a session ended. Wake when his bladder forced him. Eat when the gnawing in his stomach grew too distracting. Day and night blurred in the basement's twilight. By the 3rd day, or was it the 4th, the smell got worse. Different. Not the usual funk of unwashed body and old food. This was deeper, organic, sweet, like his mother's lavender drawer sachets left in water too long. Rotting flowers and something underneath, something that made his stomach turn. Dalton wrinkled his nose, sprayed air freshener toward the smell, and went back to his game. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He declined it. It buzzed again immediately. Unknown number. Declined. Again. On the 7th ring, Dalton grabbed the phone and powered it off completely. Silence. Better. By the 5th day, he stopped noticing the smell. What he couldn't stop noticing were the sounds. The house made sounds. Old houses did that, settling, creaking, groaning as temperatures changed and wood contracted. Dalton had grown up with these sounds. But these sounds were different. They came from the walls, wet, sliding sounds, and voices, muffled, like someone was talking in the next room, except the words were underwater, distorted. His mother's cadence, his father's low rumble, both at once, overlapping. Dalton turned up his game volume, put on headphones, but even through noise-canceling technology and explosions and orchestral scores, he could hear them. His mother saying his name, his father's voice rising, urgent, desperate, words he couldn't quite make out. On the 6th day, the lights started flickering. Not all of them, just the one in the far corner, the storage area where his parents kept Christmas decorations and his father's old tools. Dimming, brightening, dimming again. Irregular pulse. And in the darkness between flickers, Dalton saw movement. Quick. There and gone. He moved his gaming chair so his back wasn't to the corner. By the 7th day, something was watching him, prickling at the back of his neck. Sense of presence. As the hours crawled by, it intensified. Eyes on him from darkness beyond his monitors. Something studying him from shadowed spaces beneath the stairs. He'd whirl around. Nothing there. Just boxes. Just shadows. But when he looked at his monitors, at his reflection in the dark screens, he could swear he saw 2 mouths, one above the other, both moving, forming different words. He blinked and it was normal again. Just his face, just one mouth. Too much screen time, that was all. On the 8th day, he ran out of clean clothes. The laundry room was upstairs, just off the kitchen. Dalton had avoided going up there. The basement had everything he needed, and there was something about the upstairs. The few times he'd ventured up to grab delivery from the porch, he'd noticed things. But he needed clothes. Dalton climbed the basement stairs, hand trailing the wall for balance. The wood felt soft under his palm, damp. When he pulled his hand away, his fingers smelled like Old Spice and seawater. His father's cologne. His father had been wearing Old Spice since Dalton was a kid. His father, who was on a cruise ship somewhere in the Caribbean, probably sunburned and happy, 2 weeks away from home. Dalton wiped his hand on his pants and kept climbing. The kitchen hit him. The smell was overwhelming, thick enough to taste, coating the back of his throat. But it wasn't rot. It was lavender, his mother's lavender, the scent she loved, the sachets she kept in every drawer, the soap she used, the lotion, the everything, except concentrated, suffocating, but mixed with a rotten smell, like flowers decomposing in standing water. His eyes watered. He gagged, covering his nose and mouth. The garbage. He had forgotten the garbage. Dalton stumbled to the trash can, lifted the lid. The contents were moving, writhing with maggots so thick they formed a white carpet. But underneath the maggots, he could see the outline of shapes. His mother's distinctive handwriting on a takeout container. His father's protein bar wrappers, the brand he always bought. Their garbage, their last week before the trip, rotting. Dalton slammed the lid shut, stomach heaving. As he turned toward the laundry room, he froze. The wallpaper wasn't just peeling, it was growing. Black mold spread across the walls in fractal patterns, branching and pulsing, but not random. The shapes were familiar. Dalton stared at them, his brain struggling to process what he was seeing. The mold was growing in the shape of words. Answer. Please. Why won't you answer? The letters were imperfect, distorted but unmistakable, and they were spreading, creeping toward the kitchen like living handwriting, his mother's handwriting. Dalton backed away. This wasn't right. Houses didn't decay this fast. Mold didn't spell words. It had only been a week. Had it? Dalton pulled out his phone to check the date, then remembered he'd powered it off. He turned it back on, waited for it to boot up. The screen lit up. Notifications flooded in. Voicemails, texts, missed calls. 93 missed calls. The most recent was 3 days ago. Unknown number. After that, nothing. The silence was worse than the calls. Dalton's thumb hovered over the voicemail icon. He should listen. He should. No. Whatever they wanted, he'd deal with it when they got home. They were fine. They were on a cruise. They were having fun. They'd be back soon and this would all be normal again. He just needed to get out. Fresh air, clear his head. This was stress. Too many energy drinks. Too little sleep. He'd go for a walk, grab food from somewhere, come back and clean up and everything would be fine. Dalton headed for the front door. The living room had changed. Furniture he'd known his entire life looked ancient. The couch sagged in the middle, fabric stained dark in places, water stains, salt lines, like something had been dragged from the ocean and left to drip dry on the cushions. And covering everything, every surface, every wall, every inch, was dust, but not dust. When Dalton looked closer, he could see the fine particles were wrong, shaped wrong, organic, pollen, his mother's favorite flowers, lavender, dropping pollen in impossible quantities, coating the room in purple-gray powder. Dalton grabbed the front doorknob, loose, corroded, like it had been underwater. He twisted and pulled. Nothing. He yanked harder. The door was sealed shut, frame swollen, trapping it. Come on, come on. His voice sounded wrong in the quiet house. Thin, desperate. He moved to the window, grabbed the curtain to pull it aside. The fabric disintegrated in his hands, crumbling, falling like snow, like his mother's curtains had been there for decades instead of 5 years since she had bought them at Target. Through the gap he could see outside. Wrong. The suburban street he'd grown up on. Neat lawns, identical houses, minivans, was gone. In its place, gray fog, thick, impenetrable, pressing against the glass. Or water. Was it water? The fog moved like water, like Dalton was looking at the street from underwater. Dalton stumbled backward. This couldn't be real. Nightmare. Sleep-deprived hallucination. He needed to wake up. Movement in his peripheral vision. Dalton spun. The living room mirror hung across from him, surface clouded with grime, salt deposits, seawater residue. Through the dirt, his reflection. The thing in the mirror was gaunt, skeletal, skin grayish-green, stretched tight over jutting bones, eyes sunken, dark and bottomless. And its mouth, there were 2 of them, one where it should be, one higher on its forehead, opening and closing independently, both forming the same word over and over. Answer, answer, answer. Dalton raised his hand to his own face, feeling for the second mouth that couldn't be there. In the mirror, his reflection raised both hands, 2 left hands, both his, both wrong. They matched perfectly. Dalton turned and ran for the basement stairs. Back. He had to get back. Back to his games, his screens, his safe cave where the world made sense. His foot hit something soft on the stairs. Dalton pitched forward, hands scrabbling for the railing. He caught himself, gasping, and looked down. The carpet, except not carpet anymore. Growing thick, fibrous tendrils had burst through the weave, spreading across each step, but not roots. Hair, his mother's blonde hair, his father's salt and pepper, all mixed together, spreading like mold and reaching. One tendril wrapped around Dalton's ankle, wet and cold. Dalton screamed and tore free, scrambling down the remaining stairs, practically falling into the basement. The basement, his sanctuary, his tomb. The walls were covered, black mold blooming in great patterns, but now Dalton could read them. Messages, please. His mother's handwriting, his father's blocky capitals, both spelling out the same things over and over. Pick up. We need you. Please, Dalton, please. The water is rising. In the far corner, in the storage area with the flickering light, something moved. A shadow, darker than the other shadows, more solid. The light flickered. Skin that looked wet, limbs bent as if broken. A shape that shouldn't exist. It stepped forward. The sound, not footsteps. Between footsteps and sliding, dragging, water sloshing, ocean sounds, drowning sounds. Another step. The light caught its face. Dalton's stomach dropped. It had his mother's eyes, warm brown eyes that used to look at him with hope, with disappointment, set in sockets too deep, in a face too long. Below those eyes, his father's jaw, strong and square, exactly as Dalton remembered, but assembled wrong. His mother's nose attached to his father's cheekbone, his father's ear growing from his mother's temple, skin that didn't match, sutured together with something organic, kelp, seaweed, the things that grow on bodies that spend too long in the ocean. And the rest was a collage. Arms too long, fingers that multiplied halfway down, skin bloated and slipping, salt water dripping from every seam. When it spoke, two voices emerged, his mother's and his father's, overlapping but not in sync, the harmony that had been coming from the walls, both real now, both here.
Why didn't you answer?
The words didn't match either mouth's movements. Dalton's throat closed. The thing stepped forward, jerky and puppet-like. As it moved, it left puddles, dark water mixed with something thicker. Seawater, ocean water, water that should be on a cruise ship deck, not in his basement. Dalton could smell it. Salt water, decay, and fear.
We called. We texted. We
begged. His mother's voice was stronger in that sentence.
12 times.
His father's voice.
I called 12 times the first day. Your mother called 18.
The thing's head, or heads, it was hard to tell where one ended and the other began, tilted at Dalton. You answered once. Dalton's blood went cold. What? Day 2, Dalton. Call number 43. You answered. No, he hadn't. He had declined every call. He had been in a match. He wouldn't have. But the thing pulled something from the wet folds of its body. A phone. Waterlogged. Screen cracked. Covered in salt deposits. His mother's phone. The thing pressed a button. Water sloshed inside the device. But impossibly, it powered on. A voice came from the speaker. Dalton's voice. Tinny and distorted. Angry.
Jesus Christ, Mom. What? I'm in the middle of something.
His mother's voice responded. Shaking. Background noise. Wind. Rain. Something metal groaning.
Dalton, honey, the storm is really bad, and the captain said, I don't care. I told you to stop calling me. Please. We just wanted to hear your voice. We're scared and you're always scared. You're always needing something. I'm 28 years old and you treat me like I'm 5. Leave me alone.
The sound of the call ending. Silence. Then his mother's voice, small, broken, barely audible over the storm. He hung up on us. His father.
Try again. He didn't mean it.
He meant it. His mother was crying. He always means it. We call and we try and we love him and The recording cut off. Dalton stared at the phone, at the thing holding it, at the faces of his parents stitched together and dripping seawater. I don't remember. You were in a ranked match. His mother's voice. 47 minutes in. You were winning. We were drowning. And you were winning. The storm came on seconds that day. The thing's face tilted at an angle no neck should allow. We weren't worried at first. The captain said it would pass. But it didn't pass. It got worse. Dalton backed against his gaming chair, hands groping for armrests, needing something real. 23 more calls that day. The thing's fingers, too many, multiplying as Dalton watched, counted in the air, straight to voicemail, every single one, because you turned your phone off. I didn't know it was an emergency. I thought...
You thought we were annoying you.
His father's voice now.
You thought we were nagging. You thought we wanted to know if you'd taken out the garbage or eaten vegetables or gotten a job.
The thing moved closer.
We just wanted to say goodbye. The third day, the ship started taking on water.
Its eyes, 4 of them now, 2 brown and 2 blue, all crying saltwater, fixed on Dalton. We were in our cabin. Your father tried to seal the door. The water kept coming. It was so cold. I held the phone over my head trying to keep it dry. Called you one more time. 47 times on day 3. The thing's hand reached out. Fingers elongated, stretched, between human digits and something else. Something with suction cups and barnacles growing in the webbing. The phone got wet on call number 47. It died. Like we were going to die. Stop, Dalton whispered. Please. We thought, in those last moments, water filling our lungs, crushing us from the inside, we thought, at least our son is safe. At least Dalton is okay. At least he'll know we loved him. The hand touched Dalton's face. Ice dipped and rot, dead flesh preserved in seawater. He tried to pull away, paralyzed, trapped. But you weren't safe. The thing's face split into a smile, his mother's mouth on one side, his father's on the other, neither quite connecting in the middle. You were dying too, just slower, rotting in place while we rotted in the ocean. Except we had each other. We held hands while we drowned. What did you have, Dalton? Dalton understood. The basement, the games, the screen, the deliberate ignorance of everything outside his little cave. He had had that while his parents drowned, while they called for him, while they needed him. I didn't know, Dalton whispered. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You knew we were on a ship. His mother's voice. You knew there was a storm. You saw the texts.
You chose not to know.
His father's voice now.
You chose the game.
The thing that had been his parents folded around him. Wings. Burial shrouds. Dalton felt himself sinking into the floor. The house closing over him. Mouth. This is what you chose. The basement. This rot. This refusal to grow up, to connect, to care about anything beyond your screens, so we're here giving you exactly what you wanted. Dalton felt it then, his skin merging with the carpet, his fingers fusing with the controller, the mold on the walls growing from his own cells. The rot was his, had always been his. The house wasn't decaying around him. He was the decay. Forever. His mother's voice whispered,
Alone.
His father's voice added, Playing. And Dalton realized the worst part. He was still holding the controller. Still in a match. Still had to finish the round. The screen showed match in progress. 47 minutes remaining. The same match he'd been in when his mother called. The same match that had been more important than answering. Next time on Carman's Crypt, we have Tale of the Demon, and this one is based on a true experience shared by listener Tyler J. Alex finds a demon ring on the subway. Dark metal, intricate carving, eyes that glow red in the light. When the tale breaks off, something is released, something that scratches in the walls at night, something that knocks at 3:17 a.m., something that marks him as its keeper for 3 years of absolute terror. This story is inspired by Tyler's real experience, a story about cursed objects, cycles that can't be broken, and the terrible burden of being chosen. Some things shouldn't be found, some rings shouldn't be worn, and some curses can only be passed on, never truly escaped. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen, and consider leaving an honest review to help those stories reach new ears. Carman's Crypt is available on all podcast platforms and Patreon. Be sure to also check out my other show, Deadly Intent, where we examine real crimes through behavioral analysis, motive, and the psychology of those who commit them. And so, dear listeners, we emerge from another dark corner of Carman's Crypt. But remember, the horrors you've heard tonight are merely echoes of the terrors that await in the shadows of your mind. If you enjoyed your stay in the crypt, why not invite a friend to join us next week? After all, fear is best when shared. Leave a review if you dare, or share your own tales of terror on my social media, or on my website, carman-carrion.com. Who knows? Your nightmares might just become my next story. Until next time, keep checking under your bed. And remember, in Carman's Crypt, every fear comes to life, and no one is truly safe. Sweet dreams, if you can still sleep at all.